Alright, yeah, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be jumping back into some Neon Dynasty Standard with a lovely control deck, Golgari Despair. Probably my favourite Neon Dynasty card, honestly. Invoke Despair. Excuse me. 4 black mana and 1 for a sorcery. Target opponent sacrifices a creature, and if they can't, they lose 2 life and you draw a card. Then, you can repeat this process for an enchantment and a planeswalker. So, this can be a pretty substantial card advantage swing, really. Taking out 3 things, or if you don't take out those 3 things, you draw a card and they lose some life, so you basically taking out something in terms of like card advantage. It's absolutely disgusting. It does require the board state to be set up a little bit to your advantage, so too many creatures, too many enchantments, too many planeswalkers, then your opponent starts to have the ability to pick what dies, and then the power level of Invoke Despair goes off the rails a little bit. It's not as good at that point, but that's where the rest of the deck comes in handy, because we're playing some Golgari control. Every other part of the deck kills your opponent's things, which leaves Invoke Despair as a fantastic way to win the game, outside of things like your Graveyard Trespasser, which is just our main deck, Graveyard Hate, which is wonderful. I say main deck, we're playing best of 1, everything's main deck. But yeah, we're going to be trying to Invoke Despair our opponent as many times as possible, and when that's not effective, we're just going to play a good old control game. We've got like Meat Hut Massacres as our board wipes here. I'll show most of you know what this one does, -X, where X is whatever you choose, and you also get this enchantment that sticks around, which is actually quite relevant to another Neon Dynasty card. Whenever a creature dies that you control, your opponents lose 1 life. And whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you gain 1 life. That life gain really helps keep you in the game, really, against aggro matchups. Sweeping your opponent's game plan, leaving them without cards, and then gaining the life back means there's usually not too much to worry about as swing's concerned. But yeah, we do get to keep a enchantment sticking around, which is very useful because we have Soul Transfer. 3 mana sorcery, you get to choose 1, and then if you control an artifact and an enchantment as you cast a spell, you could choose both if you want. The first option is the one we're going to use almost all the time. Exile target creature or planeswalker, so nice there, nice Hero's Downfall. Although Hero's Downfall is destroy, right? So not quite, but close. And then the other option, you could return a creature or planeswalker from your graveyard to your hand. So if we have the artifact and enchantment, our artifact being Reckoner Bangbus right here, 2 mana 4/4. It's basically a card advantage engine and a 4/4 down the line as well. So you can pay 2 to remove a charge counter on it. I like to think of this as Neon Dynasty's treasure map, or Mazemind Tome, something like that. When the charge counters are all gone, though, you get yourself a 1/1 pilot that can then crew the Bangbus, which is pretty cool there, as well as a treasure. It's not going to come up too often, but, you know, it's basically just as card advantage. Drawing 2 cards a turn is good, and then if you can make your Soul Transfer even better, fantastic. We also have Shigeki Jukai Visionary as another enchantment that we could put onto the board, and this does a lot of stuff. I've been extremely impressed with this card. I should probably just like maximize this. Extremely impressed with this card. We've been playing quite a fair bit of it on the channel. It's a 2 mana 1/3 legendary enchantment creature, Snake Druid. You can play it down as a 1/3 and then pay 1 and a green to return it to its owner's hand, and then reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You can put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped, and the rest into your graveyard. And then, once you've returned it to your hand, you can use its channel ability to discard it from your hand and pay its cost to return X non-legendary cards from your graveyard to your hands. Which means in the late game, what you can do is you can have Shigeki be basically an uncounterable card draw spell that gets you back all of your Invoke Despairs, maybe, or a board wipe that you've legend ruled into the graveyard, or just like a targeted removal spell in Binding the Old Gods, since this on its chapter 3 will get sacrificed into the graveyard. Or you can return, you know, some normal lands that you might have milled over. If you milled over some extra ones, you Bangbus, if they killed that, you can get that back. The only thing that it can't do is get back non-legendary cards. So we do have Beseiju and Takanuma, the Abandoned Maya, in our deck. These are just free cards. I'm actually considering maybe 2 Passages, since we don't have Field of Ruin for creature lands. We do have a couple of instant speed removal spells in March of Wretched Sorrow and Infernal Grasp. March of Wretched Sorrow being a 1 and X to deal X damage to a creature or planeswalker and gain X life, so it's planeswalker removal, which is very nice. And then if you need it to be any more, you can exile a black card from your hand to make it cost 2 more as well. So for 1 mana and exiling a black card out of your hand, you can make this a 1 mana deal 2, gain 2, which is actually quite nice and comes up in today's video. I think I've talked about pretty much everything else. I've got a 1 of Sorin the Mirthless in this deck. I'm not like too blown away by this card. I actually think he's kind of meh, but he's a Planeswalker. You can get him back with Soul Transfer. I just wanted 1 Planeswalker in here that could maybe do some stuff. His tick up is card advantage. You look at the top card of your library and reveal that card and put it into your hand. If you do, lose life equal to its mana's value. So if it's a land, it's a free draw. If it's any of the rest of our deck, it's 1 to 3 basically, which is okay. You know, the only card you're really gonna hate, like, or cards you're gonna hate ticking up on, is your Hagra Mauling, your Binding the Old Gods, and your Invoke Despairs. So for the most part, I would say the tick up on this isn't going to be too painful. And if it is, we've got Meat Hut Massacres, March of the Wretched Sorrows, Graveyard Trespassers, all of these things gaining us life, so we can really offset the life loss for the card advantage that Sorin provides. So maybe it wants to be a 2 of in the deck, I don't know. I only have 1 in my collection, so I'm just trying out a 1 of this time around. But you can also offset that life loss as well with the -2, making a 2/3 vampire creature token with flying and lifelink. So that can help you stay alive if your opponent has flying attackers in the air and you don't have removal for the time, so that could be quite useful. But also, it's there to hit your opponent for 2, so that the tick up deals you less damage along the path to victory. But yeah, this deck has been super sweet. It has performed very well. I do recommend crafting it if you do like the look of this deck. Some changes I would make to the deck, as I mentioned, is potentially 2 Passages for creature lands. That seems to be a thing that might come up. And then also swapping out your basics for snow-covered basics, just as a little bit of a juke to let your opponent think that you have blood on the snow in your deck, even though you absolutely do not. But your opponent doesn't need to know that. So these should probably be snow-covered forests and snow-covered swamps. Maybe a second Passageu, I'm not totally decided on that. And then there's possibly a second Sorin in here that might want to be in here as well. But other than that, though, the deck has been performing really well in its current form. So yeah, it can only get better from here, I guess. So yeah, I would suggest a couple of minor tweaks, and if it gets worse, just revert them back to the previous version. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing with this list anyway. I think this might be my daily grind list for a little while, if it keeps on performing the way it has been so far. But yeah, if you have enjoyed today's video, and you continue to enjoy today's video, make sure to hit that like button. Helps out the channel a great deal. It's a free way to support the channel. Also, hitting that subscription button lets me know what kind of content you're interested in seeing. And without further ado, make sure you enjoy the video. If you don't, I'll be sad. And yeah, let's get on with it. This video is brought to you by the generous support of our wonderful patrons and channel members that you see here. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to cool content like sneak peeks, bonus videos, polls on future content, or access to a personal deck critique from myself every month, then hit the join button down below, or check out the Patreon link in the description. With all that said, let's get into the gameplay. Alrighty then, we're in, and got no green mana, but we're on the draw, and our entire hand is black anyway. We got some redrawing with the Bang Bus, so yeah, let's do this. Red, black. So is the artifact Anvil deck a thing in Standard? I'm assuming it probably is. I know it is in Alchemy. Ooh, Mardu. Could still be the Anvil deck, though. And we did get a green source, so that's pretty good. Right, we're going to play our Bang Bus. I don't know how we do against the Artifact deck, because it's got a lot of draining, and we don't have a lot of life gaining. So, who knows? Rite of Oblivion on the Bang Bus. Okay, thanks for treasure. Fair enough. Well, we can actually do, like, Trespasser shenanigans. Do we start with eating the Rite of Oblivion? Probably. That's probably a safe bet to get rid of the removal first, and then we can attack in and get the Ghast. I don't imagine they're going to be doing anything with it just yet. Meathook Massacre. So Soul Transfer wants me to have an artifact and an enchantment. So if I had the Bang Bus out, I would have had the Meathook Massacre and would be working with that quite nicely. Here we're just going to eat the Shambling Ghast and I guess probably just Soul Transfer the Welcoming Vampire anyway. Make power land drop. Could play Shigeki plus Bang Bus. But I don't really want them having the card advantage of the Vampire, and Takenuma, I don't think its value is gained by holding it in hand. I think just making a land drop and getting us ahead on board will do the job just fine. So I'm guessing they probably had some 2-drops there and no lands, and by killing their card advantage there, they basically just said, that's fine, you win. And yeah, that was fine, and we won. So on to the next one. Alrighty, we go first. We've got a pretty decent hand, I would say. Might end up even using this dig up as a demonic tutor, so yeah, let's go for it. Woodland Chasm go. Hold up and grasp for next turn. Potentially commune with spirits, so it's going to be an enchantment deck. Is it going to be the green-white Enchantress list, or maybe it's Runestorm? Restoration of Iganjo, interesting. Right, let's just play our forest. And I think I'll take my chances at missing a land drop here and keep the dig up. Spirited Companion. I do have to ask myself how much I care about that being in play. It is an enchantment, so it could matter, and then I could Trespasser it next turn. At least gives me something to do, I suppose, even though it's not the best target in the world. But we've got a lot of removal in this hand anyway, so it's really not a big deal, I don't think. So let's go Trespasser, eat the Companion, just in case we've got like a Shigeki or any kind of recursion. And do a little bit of draining there. And then worst case scenario, we can dig up for our 4th land drop, otherwise we've got Binding the Old Gods to do some stuff there as well. I do want to work my way towards Invoke Despair here. It's going to get quite a lot of value, taking out a creature and an enchantment. Alright, so got our Black Source, we got our Binding, which will ramp us to the Despair. All of this is going really well for us. Swing for 3. And eat the Restoration, I guess. So far, so great. Hallowed Haunting. Ooh, opponent, I'm so sorry. Better lucky than good. Invoke Despair you. Sack that Hallowed Haunting, please. Thank you. And they'll be conceding pretty soon. Eat the Hallowed Haunting. Gotta imagine that they'll be conceding pretty soon. So I could do a dig up plus... Ooh. Going for the Borrowed Time here. Discarding a card to get rid of the Trespasser. Well, if I get my Despair, which is the game plan here, I'm gonna get that back pretty soon. So 4 mana Despair. Tutor from the dig up. Plus Bang Bus, I guess. And that's the plan. Invoke Despair. Get the Bang Bus. Pass the turn. Let's see what they can do with this. They got the Hallowed Haunting. Okay, so... Spirited Companion. All of this can get swept up with a Meathook Massacre, though, unfortunately for them. So I'm still on track to get my full value here. I only have to X2 this, so I get left with 3 mana. So I can draw a card with the Bang Bus. Let's do that first. Just in case we draw something a little bit better. But we didn't. So, might as well just X3 this. Actually, no. I'm going to X2 this. Reason being, I can pay the 1 black plus exile some cards out of my hand in order to march plus 2, 4, or 6, whatever I want. Like, this Infernal Grasp is just killing a card anyway, so... maybe that's what I want to do. So, my turn. Beseju could hit a Hallowed Haunting. The Despair is going to potentially hit another. I think I'm just going to Despair them now and just let them set the token rather than use my Infernal Grasp to draw a card, basically. I think that's just fine. No biggie. They're going to probably get rid of the Borrowed Time, giving me back my Trespasser. Yeah. And I'll eat the Jukai Naturalist. Yeah. And then let's eat a Hallowed Haunting. Hit you for 4 with our crew 3 here. Sequencing might be a problem, but I don't think there's a white card that I really have to concern myself with. And just about dead on board, really. If I can clean up with the Meat Hook without killing my Trespasser, then I can crew for lethal. Wedding Announcement makes a 1/1. It's going to make another 1/1. Circle of Confinement. Okay. So, discards another card here. It's going to be a Catilda. It's a bit of a scary card, but not one that we can't deal with. And Lair of the Hydra. Okay, so that's my path to victory. Soul Transfer can get me back nothing right now. So let's draw a card. I want to leave them without bodies on board so Catilda can't attach itself to anything as easy. But we can kill whatever Catilda gets attached to later anyway. So, X2 Meat Hook Massacre. No flashy one-dropping enchantments that I'm aware of. Gain a bit of life. Play the Lair, which threatens lethal. And pass the turn. Opponent's on 4. They have another Hallowed Haunting. Okay. And that's it. Okay. So, let's see. I could do March X2, exiling Soul Transfer, or Infernal Grasp, I guess. Killing a token. Gain a little bit of life. That also works. I was going to kill this token, leaving the board open, and then crew 3 with my Bang Bus using the Lair of the Hydra. But this will work also, because if this card is removal, it will get countered by the Trespasser. So I'll just eat that Catilda. Crew 3, and swing for lethal. Wow. Very good showing there for the deck. I could probably also suit up my Lair of the Hydra there to hit them for 2, but that wouldn't be threatening extra lethal, but it would still probably be correct to do anyway. But at this stage, I'm pretty convinced it's just BM to do that, so, you know, rather than BM our opponent, let's just win. Alright, yeah, this deck is feeling quite solid, so let's keep going. Alright, okay. I mean, if I can survive till turn 5, I'm probably going to do a lot of damage. So, YOLO. This hand just basically needs playables on its 3s. Generous Visitor, see, that card could be a problem for us, but if I can Soul Transfer it into then triple Invoke Despair, I think we'll be okay. Yeah, this hand is wild. Is this card ever a bad draw? I suppose it is, yeah. Has the potential to be. A Hagra Mauling. Okay, that could be a land next turn if I need it. For now, we're just going to exile one of the visitors so we don't get hit by a lot of damage here. Invoke Despair or the Hagra Mauling can clean up the rest. So if I draw a land, I'll Mauling the visitor. Otherwise, I might just play the Mauling as a land here, just so that I've got Despair guaranteed on turn 5. I suppose it also would depend on what they do with the visitor here, if it gets big enough. I might want to just pick it off, because I'm going to get to the Despairs anyway. So we got the Shigeki. An interesting position to be in, for sure. I think I'm just gonna kill the visitor, and worst case, I'll play Shigeki and probably draw something I can play anyway. And see where we go from there. Spirited Companion. Because the way Invoke Despair works, much to my lack of amusement, is that it all resolves at the same time. So if a creature is enchanted, the same creature that you sacrifice, you can sacrifice the enchantment on it as well. It doesn't... You don't sacrifice the creature first and the enchantments go to the graveyard. They stick around on the battlefield while it all resolves. So you can just basically sack auras that were going to go to the graveyard anyway. So I think I'm just going to play Shigeki Bang Bus here. Blocks the companions just fine. I'm a little worried about Hallowed Haunting, because I can't hit them with Despair through these companions right now. We've got a Circle of Confinement, okay. So I'm getting hit for 2. This could be an awkward one. Rune of Might, a companion, okay. Getting hit for 3. And we got Takumanuma. Alright, so I am just going to start despairing them over and over and over again. The first one might not be that great. The second one's going to be a little bit better, though. And the third one's going to be even better than that, in theory. So creature goes, enchantment goes, Planeswalker can't go, so I draw a card and they lose some life. Then we've got creature enchantment again. Plus draw a card, lose 2 life. Almost certainly. I don't think you really even play a Planeswalker in this deck. Maybe a Wanderer here and there, but I don't imagine that they're going to want to flash in a Wanderer just to avoid taking 2 and drawing a card. So we'll see how they want to do this. As we make our land drops as well, we're going to be able to... Never mind. We're going to be able to Despair plus draw off the Bang Bus, but never... Yeah, never mind. Okay, that's 5 damage. We are getting rid of the creature, though, so Chapter 2 on Reign of Truth is not going to do anything here. And we're getting something back. We're either getting rid of another creature in the Reign of Truth, or we're getting the Bang Bus or Shigeki back. So, yep, spare creature gone. Beseju, pretty good pickup for us. Can hit any enchantment. Can also hit the lair, which we're going to have to do. Because that's a lot of damage. That's 5 damage. If I were them, I'd probably go for that. So we're going to have to go like Trespasser, hold up Beseju next turn. Yeah, I mean, let's do it. Eat one of their Spirited Companions for a little bit of life gain, I think. And pass the turn. Yeah, I mean, we're not out the woods. The lair is definitely a problem for us. If they get another creature land, we're in a lot of trouble there as well. So they might be thinking about potentially forcing a block here, which we know isn't going to work. But I'm not holding up an Field of Ruins, so there's no, like, perfect information that this plan will go horribly wrong. Leaving 2 mana behind. Interesting. So I'm going to let them go to combat first, because then the land is tapped. I suppose I should also block first as well, and then besiege you. Just so this damage is definitely not happening without some outside assistance. Maybe they've got Tamiya's safekeeping or something? Nope. Okay. Well, if they played around Beseju, that probably means that they've got a 3-drop they want to play here. Which would be big smart of them. Yeah, look, there's a Catilda. Unlucky for them, though, I do have an Invoke Despair. So this is going to clean up quite nicely. Creature gone. Enchantment gone, I get something back. Looks like Shigeki. I think Shigeki's probably, yeah, what I would give me back. Play my land and I'll swing. Eating another creature, because I need to gain my life back. Let's go for Catilda, actually. Not too bad there. Yeah, Shigeki can get me more Invoke Despairs, so... Wow. Wow, that's probably the closest we've come to losing, and... Yeah, we stabilized quite nicely there. Turns out Invoke Despair. Strong card. Beseju, pretty good at the right times. I wonder if this set wants 2 Beseju. It's not the strongest card in the world. Most of the time it's going to ramp your opponent, but there seems to be a lot of enchantment decks going around, and, you know, we do really kind of want to hit creature lands quite a lot, and a lot of our removal is sorcery based, so outside of Beseju, it's a little bit difficult for us to hit creature lands, so I could maybe see double Beseju, but you've also got to keep in mind Shigeki can channel it back. No, it can't, sorry, I'm a liar. I'm actually a filthy liar. It can't do that. So yeah, maybe we want 2 Besejus. Not entirely sure. But either way, this deck's performing, so don't fix what isn't broken. So, on to next game. Alrighty. On the play, decent mana. We got sweepers and single target removal, though a little bit slow. And a dig up that can get us anything we want. It's definitely not getting us a land, so that is a demonic tutor right there. I'm going to keep this hand. I think we might do okay with this. Cave of the Frost Dragon and Usher of the Fallen. So yeah, this is where I would really like some of my smaller removal spells, for sure. But Meat Up Massacre is going to be quite strong here. Got to be aware that they will have like Elite Spellbinder on 3, so I might want to just like hit everything on 2 here. So they hit me for 2, and the resolve Professor of Symbiology. Probably getting introduction to the land one. No, Teachings of the Archaics. Interesting. Okay, my turn. Another land is nice. So yeah, do I want to X1 my Meat Hook Massacre? I think because I'm getting extremely close to Invoke Despair and I have Binding the Old Gods next turn, I think it's perfectly fine to just sweep here for the 2 for 1.5. So I got 5 cards in my hand. I'm trying to shut off Teachings of the Archaics by emptying my hand as well, but I don't think it's really going to work with Invoke Despair, admittedly. So they've got to do a little bit more before Teachings will work here. 2 spell turn would help them a lot. They've got something open here. I'm just going to make sure I've got my 4th Black Source. And then I guess I'm just going to go for Binding the Old Gods. This could be like Negate. Negate's in the format right now, right? I know Spell Pierce is. Fading Hope. Sure. That's better than countering it. I at least get my Chapter 2 value in there. They've filled their hand a little bit as well, so... They do get the Teachings now, though, if they go for it. I'm going to go for Spellbinder instead, though. I'm assuming they're going to go hit the Invoke Despair. But now my Binding's ramping to it, so it's not a big deal. I could dig up to go get a board wipe. It's the Bang Bus. Interesting. Alright, let's get my tap land out of the deck. Yeah, I suppose I'm invoking Despair here. I'm pretty certain no matter what I do, Teachings of the Archaics is going to be online, so I think I'll take my draw 2, lose 4 here. And sack a creature. So goodbye, Usher of the Fallen. We even gained some life, that's lovely. And another Invoke Despair, wonderful. Keep the Beseju for the Cave of the Frost Dragon. Hoping we can hold the 2-mana open at all times to threaten that whenever it's relevant. Teachings brings them up to 4, so nice and evenly handed here. Let's see if they play out into another Despair. I imagine they don't. They're kind of trying to play a tempo game here, so one would assume that they're trying to do something and protect it. So for me, I think I'm just going to go Shigeki here. Try to do a 2-spell turn instead of going for the Invoke Despair, which is fine, but not too great. Maybe they got Fading Hope here, but again, I still get my Binding the Old Gods value. Boom. Alright. Yeah, Beseju's better as a spell here. I'm going to get hit for like 3 from it, maybe once. Something I have noticed about the deck that you might want to change yourself, actually, is changing the swamps and the forests to snow-covered swamps and forests. Reason being, although I'm not using anything that cares about snow-covered lands, our opponent doesn't know that. But the moment I put basic swamps in, they can rule out Blood on the Snow as a card that's in my deck. And I might not want to do that. So here, I think I'm just going to go Graveyard Trespasser. Although I could go Bang Bus. Yeah, I think I'll go Trespasser. Start eating that graveyard, gaining a little bit of life. Starting with Spellbinder, I think. Could also be Professor. I'm not even sure if they can get anything back. So I'm threatening Beseju, and I'm also holding open Shigeki's activation here if I don't need to use it. It's always nice when you can threaten to do something while having a backup plan if you don't have to use it, so we're always adding to this board. Fantastic position to be in. Adversary, okay. And we'll need some removal for that eventually. And now it's good to know that that's here without it actually mattering. They'll wanna... Oh, they can't activate again. So it's just a 3-2. They could phase out my Shigeki here, I think that's the correct line. I mean, if they target my Trespasser, they have to discard a card, otherwise nothing happens, so it's quite literally, I think, the only line they could take. Oh, they actually want to do it. Wow, discarding a Plains. Weird. So as far as, like, counterspells are concerned, we haven't really seen any. We've only seen Fading Hope as a card I really have to care about, and I guess Adversary as well. I don't know much about this deck. If it's a tier deck, it's a mystery to me. Okay, Adelaine can make some tokens, which I can block with Shigeki. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Oh, they're going to bounce my Shigeki. I'm going to activate it no matter what happens here. So I either take the token with me, or they use a spell in their hand. Okay, getting a little bit of life. Undoing the Spectral Adversary here. And they pass. Right, so activate Shigeki. Try and snap up a land. Ooh, what a whiff. Basically all good cards going into the trash now. I can get them back with Shigeki's channel ability, though. Should I want to. Trespasser's Death Touching. Let's play around Spell Pierce. Well, we already were, apparently. So I could Cleave to get a 4-drop or less. I'm not sure there's really a 4-drop or less that's better than just invoking Despair here anyway. So let's start with that. So this will be kill Adelaine, yeah, and then draw 2. Not too bad. We've already made our land drop. So if I go for Adversary here, I stop them from being able to save it with another Adversary. But I do open up Cave of the Frost Dragon to hit me. I think that's perfectly fine. I think Cave of the Frost Dragon's going to want to be on defense pretty soon. Here, I'm just going to, I guess, eat the Adversary. As long as it's a creature, I'm not sure it's even relevant outside of that in this matchup. There's a Wandering Emperor, so can take care of the Trespasser at the cost of a card in their hand. And they're gonna go for it as well. So I'm assuming maybe they're flooded out a little bit and they're gonna get rid of a land here. Gets rid of a removal spell. Sure, I suppose that works. And a Professor of Symbiology. Are we on Mascot Exhibition now? I can dig up for another Meat Hook Massacre. Do you hit Planeswalkers? They went with Environmental Sciences. Artifact, Enchantment, or non-basic land. So you do not hit Planeswalkers. Tell you what does hit Planeswalkers, though. Invoke Despair. Play my land. Kill 2, draw a card. Deal 2 to you. Soul Transfer also hits Wandering Emperor. Skyclave Apparition hits the Meat Up Massacre, which just opens up a free 2-2 for me down the line. Whenever I want that. Still got another Invoke Despair in the deck, so I think I'm just going to dig that up. And do the same thing again. This game, I think, is over. Just making sure I've got all the black mana I need. Take the Despair. Our opponent will concede in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Still going. Still going. Alright, Hive of the Eye Tyrant, a nice menacing threat to threaten lethal here. Luminarch Aspirant. And that puts them dead on board, so we're going to go this one. Kill that. And actually, does it cut them? Yeah, it puts them dead on board. This is 5 points. So they can activate the cave, but it activates using its own mana, so it comes in tapped. Yeah, an absolute dominating performance here. A flawless victory, if I do say so myself. Sticking us on 20, them on 0, with basically no board presence to speak of. Is this deck tier? Is this a tier deck? It might be. It's certainly a hell of a lot of fun. I do like me some control. I think it's probably... It's combo first, then it's control, I think, as far as my favourite ways to play are. If you keep them, like, simplified in that sense. I don't know. This deck can do a lot. The fact that, like, even if this game wasn't over, Shigeki could probably do, like, an X4. Let's say, 1, 2, 3... Yep, he could do an X4, and he can recur every single Invoke Despair out of my graveyard, so the following turn we can Despair, Despair. That's insane. I mean, you can just see the effectiveness of our deck by the fact that our opponent's game crashed. It definitely crashed. They're not salty or anything like that. they wouldn't be salty that this deck absolutely steamrolled them with no effort whatsoever. That'd be wild. That'd never happen. That's not the Magic player thing to do, is to salt rope. Absolutely not. Well, on that note, chat, I'm gonna leave you off here, because I do need to get this video edited and out to you guys, hopefully in time, because Elden Ring's out, and I love Elden Ring. I'm streaming it right now, probably, as this video releases. There's a very good chance of that happening, even if I put this video out a day late. So if you do want to see me play some Elden Ring, doing a wretched run, for those who know what that means, and it's going quite well, and I'm having a lot of fun with it, so twitch.tv/SuperMadLad. Head on over there and check out some Soulsborne nonsense. If you want to see me destroy bosses as easily as I destroyed Sensei over here, let's go. I will eat your Professor of Symbiology. Because I can. There we go. And I could also destroy his Cave of the Frost Dragon as well. Oh, wonderful. I was thinking it came with a rank up then, but it's gold that you go by 2. Yep. Make sure to like and subscribe if you have enjoyed this deck. The deck list link is down in the description below as well if you want to check this deck out. Small sample size, but I am completely undefeated. Every single game I've played with this has been what you've seen today. So, yeah, craft this. It's good. And a lot of these cards will end up being in like mono black control decks and things like that. A lot of the cards are, you know, brawl playable, standard playable for sure, like Binding the Old Gods. I'm sure you've mostly always got those. There's a lot of mid-range decks that use Graveyard Trespasser. There's very little jank in this deck, basically. Everything will go towards building a decent collection for you to then build off of into other good decks. So I do recommend checking out this deck and crafting itself if you can. But other than that, though, take care, guys, and peace.